Yeah, here we are. Jens, my brother.
How's it, Almo? How you doing, buddy?
Long time no speak, actually. Well, we spoke on the plane while I was in in Schiphol,
Yeah,
and I
you were
thought you
you
were
were
around
inviting
there.
people on the plane, and I was just
Yeah,
sitting at home listening to you. That's
yeah.
great.
Some guy tuned me like, shh, shh, shh. But where you now? Where are you now?
I'm in Fuerteventura, in a
Yeah.
part of the island called Las Playitas,
Okay.
in a resort called the Las Playitas Resort, which is like a sports resort.
Okay.
So they've got a big sports complex around, a running track. They've got a golf course, Olympic-sized swimming pool,
Wow.
uh, a CrossFit box, a gym, indoor volleyball courts, beach volleyball courts, football field,
Wow.
basketball courts, tennis courts, paddle, like
Yo,
everything. Yeah,
amazing.
it's
In
pretty,
what
pretty.
country? In what country?
Well, Fuerteventura is part of the Canary Islands, which is part of
Ah,
Spain, and it's
okay.
just off the coast of Morocco. In
Right.
fact,
Okay.
yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
4.5 hour flight from Amsterdam,
Okay.
halfway to South Africa, basically.
Sure.
Um,
And you're there on your
and
own.
yeah, yeah. So it's part of my sabbatical because I've taken a 3 month sabbatical, and I asked my wife very nicely if I could go away for a week or 10 days by
Okay.
myself.
Yeah.
And the original plan was to go do a comedy tour in Ireland,
All right. Okay.
specifically in Dublin and Cork. But yeah, I don't know what it is with the artistic types. They're not very good at admin. So I sent a lot of emails reaching out to people and didn't get any feedback. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go to Ireland for two open mic nights. Let me
No.
rather do something else. And I came up with this place. So yeah.
Okay. So, and why
And
did you choose it? Like, I mean, just to go on your own, because you're not doing obviously comedy shows there, but you kind of
Yeah,
taking.
well, for me, it was like the sports element. I like the Canary Islands anyway. We were in Tenerife 4 years ago, and I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
And I thought, why not Fuerteventura? It's a different island. It's got
Mm.
some of the best beaches in the world,
Okay.
uh, and also just like the sports resort thing, kind of spoke to me a little
Spoke
bit.
to you. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
I was wondering how you tuned me. Now you're first going to go work out, and
yeah,
then we can do the podcast. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Usually, like I'm in my mind, I'm thinking it's just a hotel with a shitty little gym. Like
yeah,
why
yeah.
does this oak want to go and train? But I mean, if that's got that kind of facilities, it's obviously amazing, dude.
No, it's really amazing. And last week, so I arrived on when did I arrive? On Sunday, and the Swedish women's handball team was here, and
Okay.
they flew out on Tuesday, and then like they've got this wall of fame. So it's like top triathletes from all over the world come here and train.
Wow,
Yeah, and
that's
judo
amazing.
teams, and yeah, swimmers, and I mean it's really crazy. Uh,
You must take some video of the basketball courts for me because I want to get jealous.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you'll get jealous because it's hot, eh? It's very
Is
hot.
it?
Yes.
But I want to see the setup. It would be
Okay.
cool.
I'll
But
send
yeah,
you.
man. Okay, so tell me a bit about okay, so you're on sabbatical, but you
Yeah.
kind of doing comedy, right? So that's
Yeah.
obviously kind of like your side gig. Because I know we spoke not so long ago about getting into it and things like
Yeah.
that. Like tell us a bit about like how you got into comedy, what's it like, stand up. I mean, it's I mean, I know it's scary and you only kind of
Yeah.
beginning phases, I would say. Tell us a bit about
Yeah.
that,
So,
man.
I mean, the I'll start from the beginning. So
Mm.
when I first watched Eddie Murphy Delirious, and I think a lot of people from our generation have seen it. I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, shit, this is something that I want to do. This
And
is
do.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, and it's one of those things where you go, oh, I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it, but then you never kind of take action.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of stays like a pipe dream type of thing. And
Mm.
then when I first moved to Amsterdam in 2002, they had a
Okay.
comedy cafe. And
Okay.
I was like, well, I've watched enough stand-up comedy clips. I can just get up and do stand up. So I signed up for an open mic night and bombed so hard, so hard.
Okay.
Um, Also, like the Dutch audiences aren't really, they're not the Chuckle Brothers, they're
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
they're like
Plus,
picture
your humor,
Americans.
your humor is probably still like kind of South African, and I think Americans can relate a little bit better to our humor. But I don't
Well,
know. This is my
yeah,
perception.
but like if you have an American audience, they will literally, and they're at a comedy show, they will literally laugh at anything and
All right.
everything. They're like a
Okay.
really good positive audience to have.
Okay.
Whereas the
Cool.
Dutch, they like, oh,
Mm.
make me laugh.
Make me
And
laugh. Yeah. Like,
yeah,
let's see if this is funny.
I paid €5 for this ticket, so you better make me laugh. And I mean, I wasn't aware of that. I was like completely oblivious, and
Okay.
like nothing was landing. Like absolutely nothing was landing, and I had 5 minutes, and you have no idea how long 5 minutes is when it's like just like
Yeah.
chirrup, chirrup,
When you're
chirrup,
bombing.
chirrup. Yeah.
Yeah. Crickets.
Um,
Crick, crick,
so
crick, crick.
I kind of swore to myself that I would never ever do that again because it was just such a
Okay.
painful experience. But then I
Mm.
came across improv comedy. I don't know if you know what
Okay.
improv comedy. Like
I have some
whose line?
idea. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
seen the show?
Yeah.
Whose line is it
Yes.
anyway?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So or there still is a place in Amsterdam called Boom Chicago where they do improv
Okay.
comedy, and they did improv comedy courses as well. And I was like, well,
Right.
this is cool because you're on stage with somebody else or at least two other people. So
Can
if you
bounce
say
off each other.
exactly, if you say something that's not funny, then somebody else can catch you when you fall.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 2.5, 3 years and met quite a lot of people there.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know Seth Meyers.
Not offhand, but I'm never good with names. But
Uh,
could
Ted,
yeah.
Ted Lasso, the guy who's
Yes. Yes.
Jason,
Yes. Yes. Of
yes,
course.
and
Yeah.
Brendan Hunt. They used to be
Okay.
part of the cast at Boom Chicago.
Okay. Okay.
And they obviously, I mean, they started off in the little improv thing in Amsterdam, and now they're
Right.
like, famous, world
Okay.
famous movie stars.
Okay.
Um,
Amazing.
so quite a lot of history there, and you meet like quite a lot of great people, and I'm still friends with a lot of people from my time then.
Okay.
And then cut back, moved to South Africa, and in Polokwane, there's
Okay.
there's no chance for comedy.
So what, you
So
moved back from Amsterdam to back to South Africa again?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Okay.
my wife and I moved back, and then we stayed there for 4 years, and then in 2009 we moved back to Europe,
Okay. Again.
and then in 2010 we moved back to Amsterdam. So we were in France and then Amsterdam.
Ah.
And then
Okay.
again, yeah. And then again, there was like a time for 2 years where I was like, I need to get back into improv. I'm back in Amsterdam, get back with the old
Mm.
crew.
Mm.
And then also just, I need to do comedy. I need to do comedy. And
Yeah.
again, just putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And then I interviewed for a role at work, and I was like 99.9% sure I was going to get the role. And I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I nailed the interview, everything like really, really, really good. And
Okay.
then a couple of days later, I get a phone call. Yeah, no, sorry, you didn't get it. We're giving it to somebody else.
Sure.
And yeah,
Okay.
so I was extremely upset and annoyed
Yeah.
and just like, what's the
Angry.
point? Yeah, yeah, life
Yeah.
sucks.
That
I don't
sucks.
know. I
Yeah.
was just like really, really pissed off because it was really unfair in my point of
Okay.
view. Because
Yeah.
the person that they gave to the job to quit three months later,
Mm.
or they fired her or whatever because she was useless. Um,
That's corporate for you, right? Corporate for you.
yeah, no,
Mm.
exactly. So I was just like, okay, well, this was a kick in the balls. Let me at least do something that I can kind of control. And
Yeah.
that's kind of when I said, okay, well, you've been swearing to do the comedy thing again.
Mm.
Do it. This is
Do
your
it.
this
Yeah.
is your wake up call.
Yeah.
And that was quite a while ago. So I mean, I set myself a goal. I said in 3 months' time I want to perform,
Mm-hmm.
and I started writing material. And I had a book that I bought in 2004 that I
Mm.
finally opened up in 2013 and started reading.
Okay.
So and about comedy and how to go about writing jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I landed my first gig, and I mean, yeah,
Okay.
the
When was
the
that? What year?
I would like to say 2013, I think.
Okay. So for a while. Okay.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
not
yeah.
you getting back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I mean, I nailed it. It went really, really well. I got a really good vibe from the audience, and it was like, okay, I'm kind of hooked now again.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's like you're only with comedy, you're only one positive or one negative experience away from like either carrying on or
Or
saying
quitting.
the
Mm.
shit.
Yeah, it takes a lot of balls, man. It really does. I
Yeah,
mean, I've tried to write some material, and that in
yeah,
itself is obviously hard. I also did try to do like a course in terms of how to write it. It's interesting how you start seeing when you start seeing performers, you start realizing what you learned and like how they're writing
yeah,
their skits or their performances. It's quite interesting.
yeah,
But I mean, I haven't got past writing it actually, and that, as I said, is hard in itself.
yeah,
Performing it, that's why I kind of, one of the reasons I also decided to do the podcast, because it's like it's a place where I can kind of maybe use a little bit of everything that I've
yeah,
got, and that's why it is supposed to also be a bit lighthearted and not
yeah, yeah.
not too serious, but yet talk about business, about ventures. And I mean, comedy sounds like it's your sort of like side venture. I mean, are you thinking about monetizing it in some way, or is it still more for the fun? Is it still more hobby?
Well, look, I mean, it's a bit of both because I've done gigs where I've been paid.
Mm,
Like when I first started off when was it, 2013, 2014, it
mm,
was the comedy scene in Amsterdam was very, very small. And
okay,
you had a couple of nights a month. And
right. So you can't make like a career of it because you just can't get the bookings.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was mostly open mic nights, which you don't get paid for.
Yeah,
And then like the bigger comedy clubs, they already had more established comedians. And I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, some people walk on stage and they've got
no,
everything, and they just, other people, it takes time to find your voice and your
your
stage
groove.
persona.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
what you want to
You know,
portray and what type of
ex-
comedian you are. Yeah.
yeah. And
Mm,
there's a lot of trial and error. And with, let's say, there being so few open mic nights back in the day, you didn't really
mm.
have a chance to kind of
Get the
perfect your
momentum.
set
Mm,
and, fine tune things and everything like that.
yeah.
And I mean, fast forward to now or to last year or the year before, even obviously during Corona, a
Mm,
lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm going to put this on my bucket list," and so
right.
there's like a million more people trying to perform open mic nights now.
No, because
Um,
like let's like they had time to think about their passions.
yeah,
But
exactly, exactly.
well, I mean, good for them. Good for them. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, I mean, it's also like very, very hit and miss, like some people want to do it just like one time and experience that buzz.
Mm.
Other people like me want to kind of make it a little bit more of yeah, I don't know, don't want to
At
call it a
least a
side.
side gig. Side gig,
Yeah,
yeah. At
yeah,
least
or like,
a paying side
passion,
gig for now.
passion project or whatever you want to
Right.
call it.
Mm.
Um, And I mean, the good thing now is that they're more professional open mic or more professional nights.
Okay.
And I've been fortunate enough to get paid for a few performances
Okay.
in the last couple of months. So, but
Mm.
it's also not. I mean, you're getting maximum like $100 a night, maybe
Mm.
120 if
We're
you're
talking
headlining.
euros now, though, right? We're talking
Yeah,
euros. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
100
and I mean,
euros. It's still for us with the sand money rand. It's not bad. It's not bad.
yeah, yeah, no, but it's okay, but
Yeah.
it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's worth nothing in the Netherlands, but it's
But I mean, it's
in
it's not going to pay all the bills.
no, no, not
Mm.
even no. Um,
No.
so
Yeah.
I mean, you'd probably to make a living out of it at $100 a night, you'd probably have to perform seven
Every
seven
night.
times a week,
Yeah. Every night.
you know.
Yeah. Mm.
And then you're doing okay. But you're also not
Killing it.
living a life of luxury, you know.
Yeah.
So
You're not
uh,
about to be able to buy a boat and cruise in the
no,
canals
no, exactly.
and have parties.
Yeah. Um, and a second family or something like that. I don't
Yeah. So support a whole other family.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so no, I mean it's good. It's like, you know, if you can earn a couple of $100 here and there during the month,
Yeah, it's
it's good
nice
fun.
extra.
You know, it
Mm.
can maybe pay for a bit of your holiday or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a good night out. It's always fun.
Mm.
Uh, Afterwards, you're chatting with the people in the audience. You're chatting with other comedians, so you're also doing the networking thing. And
Yeah.
then what I like as well is, like, you know, you're getting feedback from people as well, you know, and like
Mm.
somebody's like, oh shit, you know, maybe you should add this into your set, or what about
Mm.
this, or what. I mean, they just see things from a different angle, and that's also like, okay, maybe you can write a whole new joke out of that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It's material. It's content
no,
for.
exactly. And the community, I mean, the community is quite nice. You know,
Mm.
it's a good community. There are a lot of good people within the community, so
Mm.
it's it's fun to hang around with them as well. You know.
No, I like it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about it or not, but like what's your day job situation, other than that you're on sabbatical, and why you're on sabbatical? Is there any specific reason for that, or?
Well, I mean, I've been working at a what do you call, sportswear manufacturer for
Right.
the
We'll
last
keep it for
30,
that. Yeah.
yeah, for the last 13 years.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, normally after 10 years of service, you would get a 6-week sabbatical
Okay.
paid. But then I think just before COVID, just before COVID, actually, extended time off was introduced. So
Right.
ETO.
Okay.
And that's because, due to like employee surveys and stuff like that, rest and recovery, you know, a lot of
Mm.
people were saying they weren't getting the rest and the recovery they needed. And they always felt like when they did go on holiday, they were still on call or on
On
standby type
call.
of
Yeah.
thing.
Exactly.
Um, and
It
then,
happens to be that way. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, like what my GM told us like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, she's like, yeah, we're in the business of selling shoes. We don't,
Mm.
we're not saving lives. So, you know, let's not take things too seriously here. Not that, not that
Yeah.
she's saying, like, not that she said, like, you know, don't do your jobs, everybody do your jobs, but, you know,
Yeah.
like, let's keep it in perspective. We're selling shoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
If we
like
miss,
it's
if we miss a launch date, if we miss a launch date, it's not the end of the world. It's not like,
right. Yeah. There's
it's
enough.
not
There's enough. There's enough shoes going around. I mean, I can't keep up with these shoes, and
exactly.
I'm a sneakerhead. I don't need more shoes all the time. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, like after COVID, I mean, or during COVID, it was like, okay, we're all at home, we couldn't go anywhere anyway.
Mm.
And then like after COVID, you all started going back to the office and everything like that. And what we also have at the company is called stretch assignments. So you basically go work in a different function or a different department for, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, gain
Yeah.
some new business skills or whatever,
Mm.
and then potentially move into that role in a permanent kind of yeah
Mm.
uh, function.
That's good. I mean,
Um,
so it means you could actually move into something totally different, and the company's willing to train you essentially on the job.
exactly.
Wow.
However, and this
Mm.
is the big however, the big but. I've done like 3 or 4 of those, and every time it's like literally just been to backfill somebody while they're on maternity leave, and
Okay.
then they generally didn't have your best interest at heart to give you a permanent position. So it's
Because
just
they
like they
obviously
want
need to give it back to the same person actually as well.
exactly, which is
Mm.
fine. But you know,
Yeah.
if you go in with that expectation that you might land a permanent role, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth if it doesn't turn out like that.
Yeah. But at least you
So
get to
again,
experience another part of the business. You understand that person's job a bit more. It can create a bit of
yeah, and I mean,
understanding.
it definitely has its benefits, but if you have
You also have
promises
your own
made to you,
career. Yeah, and you have your own career to worry about.
yeah, and if you have
Mm.
promises made to you for the fourth time and then they kind of not kept, you kind of go, you know,
Mm.
maybe I need a bit of a break. So
Okay.
yeah, it was like for me, it was a bit like, yeah, let me
Mm.
just kind of take a step back. Let me look
Mm.
after me. I've
Mm.
been wanting to do this sabbatical thing for a while. And
Mm.
then you always, when you're in a situation when you have the luxury to kind of put things off,
Mm.
you kind of you do. But when
Mm.
you not get put into a corner, not that I was put into a corner, but it was like, okay, it spurred me on to action type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
so
amazing how time like that, where you basically, I mean, and we do it in different ways, but where you're not going on a family holiday. You're not going on a holiday where you're going to see stuff. You actually are, just doing you,
yeah,
and the perspective that it creates is it can be life changing.
yeah,
So it's I mean, it's great that you have that opportunity, and I don't know, other people sometimes don't necessarily. I mean, but I don't know, just create it for yourself, because I really think it is important
yeah,
to get away from everything, from all responsibilities, not only work, family, kids, all of that kind of
yeah,
stuff. It gets a lot.
yeah.
And I mean, we're a similar age, and I think you get to that part. I mean, it's some people want to call it a midlife crisis. Some are calling it a midlife reevaluation. Like,
Yeah,
I'm kind of just looking at it like, in some ways, like, look, it's my life pie chart's like half. I think I've mentioned it before, but like, I've only got this much time left, and
yeah,
at some point I didn't even want that time anymore. I was like, I'm done.
yeah,
I'm what else must I do? I'm worth more dead than alive in terms of my insurance in any event. So, everyone's supported fine enough.
yeah,
I mean, that's how I'll say. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of happened. But if you kind of get to a point where you're like, I actually do want to see how this life goes for the next half of this pie chart, then you want to make it worth your while. You want to kind
yeah.
of do the things that I actually came to a point where I was like, I don't even have a bucket list anymore. Like, I'm done.
Oh, really?
I'm adding stuff to my bucket. No, I mean, some of it is negotiating with yourself. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck it, that wasn't that important. But like most things, I was like, what else is left except friends killing themselves and dying anyways, and
yeah, yeah,
so yeah, I don't know what you've experienced. I mean, we knew each other at school, and we've kind of kept in touch on social media and stuff. I mean, we don't know too much about each other's lives,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, the 90s were easy, bro, in my view, but everyone says that about their sort of generation. But I think
yeah. But I
90s was
think,
was nice. I mean, we were. I don't know how you felt. Like, we were South Africa. We had kind of just become like fully democratic. Everyone was kind
mm,
of happy. We won the World Cup rugby, um, and we were like kind of in school at that time, and then a bit afterwards. Like
yeah,
doing stuff, studying, still going to Oktoberfest in Pretoria, German school. It was a good time. It was a lack of
yeah,
time, and then life kind of happened.
yeah. But I mean, I think it's one of those things where, like you always hear from people that are older than you when you're in school. That's like,
Mm,
enjoy the time now, because life's gonna slap you in the face as soon as you leave school, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Um, but
yeah,
but I mean, like, if you take possibly like maybe take the last 20 years, but I think it's been more
been about
exponential
20,
the last 10 years. It's
right?
just like the difference between rich and poor has just
Mm,
grown so exponentially in the last, I don't know, 5-10 years.
mm,
Whereas like in the early 2000s, you could still do a lot with a little bit of money, if you know what I
mm,
mean. And
yeah,
at least for me, the pressure that I felt, and it was also, self-inflicted in that way. That it's
Yeah.
like, am I providing enough for my family?
Mm.
I
Mm.
I feel like I haven't reached that uh, that goal that I set myself. I was like,
Mm.
yeah, fuck, I'm gonna start working for the sportswear giant, and
Mm.
within 6 years, I'm gonna be a director, or something,
Mm.
something, something. Didn't happen. So, I felt like a bit of a failure, or a complete failure, to be honest.
Mm.
I wasn't able to buy my wife the SUV that, not that she was like, oh, I wanted SUV. She
No,
was
no,
always
it's
about it, but
yeah.
you like, kind of spoil your wife or your family, and,
Mm.
your friends, and go on nice
Mm.
holidays where you, I don't know, go to the Caribbean, or whatever, and live a
Mm.
little bit more of a luxury lifestyle. I
Yeah.
mean, the war in Ukraine has double fucked us now.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah, and just
that's
just after COVID. Thanks a
yeah.
lot,
So I
governments
mean,
of the world.
yeah, I feel like, just before COVID, I was like, okay, finally I've kind of reached a financial level where I feel
Mm.
comfortable, and it's not like breaking even at the end of every month. We've got a
Mm.
little bit more disposable income. And now
Mm.
COVID and the war in Ukraine has kind of screwed that over. So I feel like I'm back where I was 10 years ago in that
Sure.
sense, with
Yeah.
everything just becoming so much more expensive.
Mm.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
don't
you
know. Where,
also
where
like, I
do
mean, you've got kids, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I think one of our goals is usually, we don't want to be in a position where we can't give our kids the things that they need or want.
yeah,
I didn't have a lot of the things I wanted and needed, I think, as a kid. So that's one of like the main things is you want to do better. You want to like do
yeah,
better than what you experience. And if you
yeah,
don't get there, and if it's becoming harder and harder, you start feeling pretty down about it, because it's like
yeah,
you put these little fuckers on the earth, and even though they give you shit all the time, but
yeah,
you're actually doing your best for them. I mean, this
mhm,
is like you don't want them to not, or you want them to have the opportunities that they deserve and that you maybe didn't have, and for whatever other reason. So it's, I think with kids it makes it even harder
yeah,
as
yeah.
a father.
Yeah. And I mean, like, granted, we were living a comfortable life and everything like that. And, um, but it's just not where I wanted to be. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So I wanted,
mm,
I wanted a lot more. And yeah, I mean, had this discussion with my father a couple of times as well. And he was like, okay, but, I don't understand why you aren't happy. And it's like,
mm.
well,
Why are you
and
not
I
happy,
mean,
man? Jens, come on.
exactly. And that I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you're depressed, or when you're down, you're not
Mm.
feeling fulfilled and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when somebody says to you, "Why aren't you happy?"
Happy,
it
it
makes it
makes it
even
even
worse,
worse.
because you kind of like, I'm actually quite an ungrateful cunt,
Yeah,
So,
thanks a lot. Now I feel even worse because now you've just confirmed
yeah.
that I'm a fucking cunt.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I can't explain it. It's like, we've got a nice house, we've got a roof over our head, the kids go to
Yeah.
school, the kids are doing well, everybody's healthy and stuff. Why aren't you happy? And it's like, because I'm a dick. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and then you start believing you might be a dick. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm totally not an asshole, but I mean, I really
Yeah,
do try to
yeah, yeah.
to be a bit better.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And then, I mean,
I'm a
then you,
nice guy. But I'm a good man. I think I'm a good man.
yeah, I can be
Yeah,
adverse if I want to, but
yeah, yeah.
it's yeah, and then I mean, you kind of go every day into this job where you kind of like, oh, you're not achieving your goals, and then
Mm,
it's just like, why, what am I doing this for,
mm,
um and then, I mean, I think what even compounded that was, back in the, I was doing comedy maybe 3 times a week or something like that. But in
mm,
the middle of the week, so you go out on a Wednesday night, do a show, stay
mm,
until 12 o'clock, get home at
mm,
2. you've had a couple of beers, and then you need to
Yes,
wake
yeah.
up at 7, and then you need
Yeah.
to function like a normal human being. And I was like, ee. So that kind of burnt me out a little bit as well.
Okay.
Um, but I think like COVID came at the right time, because I was just like, okay, I don't need to see any of the people I don't like in the office anymore.
Yeah.
I can sit at home, and work from home, and then I can
Yeah.
go to
Actually
my
get my
therapy.
work done as well, quicker
Yeah,
than what I would at the office.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
I can go see my therapist for one hour every other week, and then
Yeah.
just like work on myself. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
do you, so I mean, so do you go to regular therapy, or have you done that?
I did do that. I did that for quite a while. I went
Mm,
twice. So,
mm,
and this is well, because I was like your typical man who's like, no, fuck therapy.
mm,
Who needs therapy?
mm,
And then I went to my first therapist, and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work out, because you need
mm.
to you need
You
to
need to
build
have
a
the right one. Yeah.
you need to have a connection.
Yeah.
And the difficulty is as well in Hilversum, where we live. It's a smallish town, it's not a village, but it's also not a city like Amsterdam. So,
Right.
like, the amount of English speaking therapists are few and far between. Uh, so
Okay.
that makes it, I mean, it makes it a little bit more difficult when you're trying to like pour out your heart, and then
Heart
somebody.
doesn't understand. ¿Qué? ¿Qué pasa? Not that that's Dutch, but I just came up with that now.
But it might as well have been Spanish. Might as
Yeah,
well have been.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I was a bit like, yeah, after 6 weeks or eight weeks of that, I was a bit like, yeah, no, fuck, this isn't this
Especially because
isn't for
I'm
me.
paying for it.
Fortunately, the health insurance covers quite a bit
Oh,
of it,
good.
so that's okay.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I kind of gave that a break for a while, and then I found a new one,
Mm,
and she was quite a lot better. And then you
mm,
do like these exercises um, that they prescribe, and like write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. And again,
mm,
I'm just like, oh man, what a wank. And it's not,
mm.
but once you get over that hump and you
Yeah.
actually do it, it
Yeah.
actually
You kind
makes.
of, starts making sense. Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I went through it. I'm
Mm,
annoyed that it took me so long to like stop being so stubborn.
right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I fell into this trap of like negative thoughts, negative thinking, and
Mm,
like constantly there was always a negative thought in my head, regardless of whether it was about my family, whether it was about work, whether it was like we would drive on holiday, and instantly negative thoughts in my head would be like, yeah, we're gonna crash and have an accident.
sure.
You know,
Okay.
um,
Mm.
and then yeah, you kind of just start scaring yourself.
Yeah, I think because I've done a lot of mindfulness stuff as well. My sort of counselor therapist, um, is big on the mindfulness thing, and that's also like a kind of you also like it's good, and you kind of but you have to like really get into it. And I mean, I still don't always get into it, but the whole point with that is to actually notice your thoughts, and that's when you
Yeah,
start. That's a really good, when you are getting negative thoughts, it's also like not to beat yourself up about it. It's like, oh, there's a negative thought, do I need to take it on or not? And that's where the like
yeah,
mindfulness, because mindfulness and meditation isn't about not fucking thinking.
yeah,
It's literally about noticing what you're thinking. It's a better, and to actually just in a quiet sort of time that you put aside between 5 and 20 minutes, depending on, and it can go longer. I mean, that's I think how people get into the longer meditation is they kind of get good at like the first 5-10 minutes,
mhm,
but
yeah,
then you need to go deeper, like anything else. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm still at the like 5, 10, 15 minute level at most, unless it's guided. But that's exactly the point. It's when you're not doing that and you're not thinking about it and you're not in therapy, you kind of get those negative thoughts, and it gets in way deeper than what it needs to. Whereas you can
yeah,
still have the negative thoughts. We're always going to have thoughts. We're going to have all kinds of thoughts, but you can kind of notice, oh, there's a negative thought. Do I really need it? So
Yeah.
it resonates with what you say.
For me,
Um,
the biggest thing at that time was like you go to bed, like you're busy the whole day. You go to bed, you lie down, and I was just like, oh, finally I can sleep. And
mm,
then you think
you can't
about
sleep either.
something stupid you did in standard 8 that has absolutely no relevance to your life right now, and you're like, oh man, I was such a dick that day. And
Yeah,
then it's oh, but
it spirals.
and I was
Yeah,
just like, dude. And then you try and fall asleep, and by the time you fall asleep, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and
yeah,
then yeah, you get woken up at 4:30, and then you can't
yeah.
fall
And the
asleep
lack
again,
of sleep then is also not good for you because that then
dude.
spirals.
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, for me, like the first step was like, obviously, I went to my GP and I said to
Mm,
her, I need some help. I need sleeping tablets or whatever. And she's like, okay,
mm,
well, we won't give you sleeping tablets. We'll give you something else. It will
mm,
help you sleep and blah, blah, blah. And I still take those because, yeah, I just,
mm.
function much more better as a human
Better,
being. And
yeah.
like you said, if you're tired, the negative thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, they just, they
Mm,
spiral more and more out of control.
mm,
And then, yeah, doing those exercises. And again, like, trying to take those negative thoughts
mm,
and not letting them spiral out of control.
mm.
Uh, and I don't know how I managed it, but it was like it felt like from one day to the next, it was just gone. But
Okay.
I know it was like a three to 6 month kind of journey, let's say.
Yeah, we often don't notice it. I mean, like my counsel as well says, like, just remember this is what you said this time. It's like the progress is actually slow and there is
Mm,
progress and you don't notice it, but you do get then to a point where it's noticeable and you think it
yeah,
changed then, but it changed over like a period.
yeah,
But listen, I mean, the other thing I wanted to bring it back to the comedy. Actually, it's quite
oh yeah,
interesting to me. To me, is that it seems to be funny people that are good in sort of social environments and maybe look at comedy, whatever, are often people that struggle with some kind of depression or some kind of
yeah,
you'd think they wouldn't be having negative thoughts because they're fucking funny all the time,
yeah.
that's a social response maybe to it. I don't know. I mean, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts about that? Because I mean, like,
Uh, so I agree with you in that point.
mm,
So I mean, yeah, I think Robin Williams is your prime example. I think
mm,
everybody in the world was like, "What?"
mm,
when he died, when he passed away. I've
mm,
looked at or I've watched a lot of podcasts as well. Like I told you on the phone with the Diary of
mm.
the CEO.
Yes, yeah,
He interviewed Jake Whitehall and Ramesh Ranganathan separately. They're both UK
okay,
comedians,
yes,
funny as hell.
yeah,
And Ramesh was saying the exact same thing. He was,
mm,
guys that I speak to on the comedy circuit in Amsterdam as well, also like
yeah,
really close to jumping behind a train.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it comes from you're trying to make everybody happy the whole time,
mm.
constantly, and that's kind of where you get your energy from. And then
Yeah.
when you're not making
When
people
you make
happy,
people happy, then you're going down.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, also comedians, we're attention whores. So if we don't get the, I mean,
Just look at
it's
my Instagram, man. It's my passion. I'm having I'm entertaining myself at the expense of others.
my God, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly
Yeah,
what it
no,
is.
we must
And I
admit it
mean,
though. We are. But I do like what you said about. You're right. It's about us. We like to make people happy. We like
yeah,
to see people happy, and when we're not doing that because of some other reason, it's like it really, or just circumstances aren't. And it's actually some of it. So, and this is the main thing. Stuff we just need to recognize what's out of our control and what's in our control.
yeah,
Because there's so much that's out of our control, and we need to recognize that as being something. Okay, I can't change that situation, or I can't
yeah.
do much about that. Like, let me work within those parameters.
And I
But
think
yeah,
that's also one thing that I discussed with my therapist, because when we were in school, we were like super carefree, and
Mm,
whatever happens, happens. If something happened, it happened. You work with it, and then
mm,
uh, try and find another plan or something like that. And I lost that carefreeness in a
mm.
sense, not
Right.
being not to be blasé about life and
Yeah.
etc., but kind of go like,
You
okay,
know what? It's okay.
exactly. And
Mm,
and they I don't know when that happened. Maybe when I was like 30 or something like that. I
mm,
kind of like I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I should take this life thing a little bit more seriously, because
mm.
you're not
Yeah.
really like you're not like getting anywhere, and then you kind of overcompensate for the first 30 years of your life,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. John.
make 30 to 40 the worst time of your
And you're
life,
setting
basically.
yourself up for some failure, and that's obviously.
Exactly. A hundred
Mm,
percent, 100%. And I think also, like, again, when I turned 40, I don't know if there was like a click in my brain or something like that, where it was just like, dude, fuck,
mm,
just roll with it, I mean,
mm.
put in a good effort, put in a strong effort, but again, like, it's not the end of the world if stuff doesn't pan out the way you thought it would.
I think
And
40 is
expectations.
yeah. I think 40 is a big one, but for me, what was interesting, I was kind of like, I think I lost a couple because I basically turned 40 going into kind of COVID, basically, and I
Yeah.
think I was fucked over with like two years that I couldn't get off the blocks being 40. So that also kind of set me back, and so like I'm minusing 2 years off my life. I think for especially being in the 40s, like
Yeah.
I only really got going into my 40s the last 2 years. Turning 45 this year. So
Yeah.
I'm minusing about 2 years from me because I think I felt that shift at 40. It's a weird thing, but then I was like in COVID, and it's like I couldn't get
Let's
out
go.
of my cage. Keep me in a cage, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. So I mean, the other thing I wanted to check with you, I mean, like you talked a little bit about it, but I mean, do you have like some kind of like personal philosophy in terms of your finances? You say that you've got this extra thing, maybe make ends meet. I mean, how do you approach it? Like you obviously have an income, you've got a little bit of extra. I mean, you have like you've mentioned travel, so that's a big thing
Mhm.
that you save for. Like, what's your? I mean, I know it's you don't have to also answer it in depth, but like sort of just overview, like what's your approach with money and what you do with it. And I mean, obviously you live in Europe, there's a lot of benefits as well. But how do you just generally approach personal finance?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm not very good at it. Let's say
Right.
I feel like I still have a lot to learn, or I wish I knew more.
Mm,
So I mean, I have the opportunity through the company to buy stocks within the company, and we
okay.
get those at a discount. So that's kind of like my nest egg. 10% of
Okay.
my salary goes into that.
Okay.
And then whatever other extra money I have, if I
Mm,
have like, I don't know, 1,000 euros left over, something,
mm,
I have what do you call it, a stock, whatever portfolio.
okay.
So
Like a tracker, like a tracker of stocks, or like have you
it's
chosen
not
your
a
own stocks?
I've chosen my own stocks. So when
Okay.
Apple split their stocks, when was it, 4 years ago, whatever, I went in big there.
Mm,
And what else? Bought stock in my wife's company. That's not
okay.
doing too great. And
The
then
company she started or the company she works for?
no, the company she works for.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
and then I mean, I haven't lost money on it, but it hasn't
Mm,
grown as, like, as much as I thought it would.
yeah.
Um, Then I've got an S&P 500 a little bit,
Okay. That's
but
like a tracker
again,
then, obviously.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm,
there as well, and this is on me. This is like one of those things where I'm being a bit lazy about it, where I
mm,
should kind of try and invest. more regularly in something like that,
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
sure that there's like a direct debit of, I don't know, whatever, 50 euros, 100 euros a month that goes into it. And then
Yeah.
just over time.
Mm.
And then, I mean, I've got the pension plan from the government and through work as well.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things.
That you've got.
Um,
But how does it work? Because I mean, that's I think interesting for me, and I think maybe for some listeners
mm,
is in terms of uh, are you more into looking at these things yourself and taking some time? Do you have things like financial advisors that one approach, or what's your sort of take on that? Because I mean, it's a can of worms, but
yeah,
what sort of like, I mean, you live in the Netherlands, so I mean, how does it kind of work there? What's the sort of, and then obviously from your own perspective, like, would you prefer having more information or easy accessible information to make your own choices? Do you
yeah,
feel a professional is a good idea? And what's your experience with those? Because often it's bad.
yeah.
So maybe just give me a take on that. Like,
So I would love to find the information myself, but
yeah,
every time you Google the information, there's somebody that's trying to sell you an
dude,
ebook for fucking 50 euros or whatever, and
yeah,
financial
yeah,
freedom is one click away.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I'm
Mine's
kind
totally
of
free, by the way. You don't even need to give me your email. Have you read my one?
no.
Okay, well, it's for free. Like, I literally don't even ask for an email address because that's payment, right? Payment
No.
is an email address. It's like they can bombard you with information. So it's www.almalubowski.com. You can
Okay.
literally get my. It's is it time to fire your financial advisor? 6 steps to doing your own financial planning. It's a initial like guide that I wrote a couple of
Is it
years back now. So
is it only relevant to South Africa or
no,
worldwide? Do you
it's
think?
no. That's why it's just relevant to the approach, like the
Ah,
approach
okay.
to taking your own finances into your own
Yeah.
hands. It's
Okay.
definitely not. It's not about giving advice because the thing is, that's a whole nother world. Like, okay, cool. I've got an understanding of how maybe the initial rules of money work, but what's my next step? Do I,
Mm.
like you said, you've gone and bought stocks of your own, you've invested in a tracker, which I think are good, all good decisions. But that's when you get into the world where you may or may not want to have advice. But my book's
Yeah.
really just about the basics around money and debt and savings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and interesting, I was listening to a podcast at the gym today, and the woman who was being interviewed, she said the reason, yeah, so financial jargon basically is a
mm,
moat around the financial industry so that the
mm.
people within the financial industry can charge you whatever they want for bad or
Them,
good financial
it's to
advice.
their benefit to make it complicated for sure, and it's
Yeah.
actually not.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, I mean, I think that's for me one thing that I need to like spend more time just learning and getting involved in that.
yeah,
And then, I mean, the other option, like you have your financial advisors in the Netherlands, and like you said, yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like you're paying somebody exorbitant amounts of money, and he might make you money or he might not, you know.
right, yeah,
Um, Whereas, like through the banks, for instance, they've made investing easy. So they said,
okay,
okay, either you can self-invest yourself and manage the stocks that you buy yourself,
mm,
or you can do it through the bank. And then they give you three risk levels: low risk,
yeah,
medium risk,
no,
and then high risk.
yeah,
And then, you can then also say, okay, I want my money to be invested in green companies who are producing green energy. They
mm,
all sorts of things. Or you can just say, hey, throw my money wherever you want to. I want the most return on my
yeah,
investment. So
yeah,
that's like the easy, let's say the lazy way. But then obviously you're paying commission to the bank and stuff like that as well.
right,
But
right, yeah.
um,
It may be
yeah,
worth it compared to you choosing your own portfolio and then totally messing it up and
exactly.
investing in companies that bomb.
Exactly. And I mean,
No.
I don't know what the return would be, but if you're looking at maybe 5 to 7%,
Mm. Yeah.
Does that keep
I,
does that keep up with inflation enough? Yes or no? I don't know, but
yeah.
I mean, it's better than losing your money or putting it in a savings account. So
Well, I mean, without giving financial advice, I mean, I can tell you what my basic opinion would be, and that is, first of all, I think regular savings is very important. And also, by putting in something every month, you get something that's called dollar, euro, or rand cost averaging. And that means you actually, if you're buying on a regular basis, you will buy the stock at a cheap or an expensive price, or even the basket of stocks, or
Mm.
like a tracker, which is like it's tracking your, which are usually quite cheap, which is tracking like the top 10 stocks in a certain stock exchange.
Yeah.
You will by regularly putting in money, you will buy it at a cheap amount, you'll buy it at expensive, and it averages out over the time, because timing the market has been shown to not be a good idea.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, okay, I've got a lump sum, when should I put it in? The stock's low, that's, buy low,
Um,
end up high. So timing the
yeah.
market is not the best
Oh,
is really just to
timing.
timing. Yeah, timing.
I thought you
So I
said
mean,
time in the market.
oh,
I was
no,
like,
no, that is important. That is a good one. Time in the market is definitely what you. So it's a long term game.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I think those are some basic principles. But those are actually things I do talk about in my ebook. But um, it's difficult. If you're chasing returns, you're always going to see yourself, like, you're always going to
yeah,
see your ass a bit. If you're worried about certain things, and I think it can be relatively simple. And then obviously, depending on how much you actually have to play with, I think it gets more complicated the more money you have and the more
yeah.
money you need to invest. I think at a basic savings and investing level of like your extra income, and that you are just, after all the family expenses, you can keep it relatively simple. And it's not, and you're right, it's made hard, and it's one of the reasons, again, for, I think, trying to have this podcast, and you're not a financial expert, but I love to get the experience of someone like
Mm,
yourself versus having people on the podcast that may have a bit of better financial knowledge, and then that also helps the listenership a little bit as well. Because
yeah,
to be honest with you, I don't want to be sitting here too much about, you know, telling people about what I know, but hopefully in my conversations that does come out.
yeah.
But other than that, your hobbies are obviously working out. What else do you do for fun? What is, and I mean, in a way, your comedy is like hobby, but a little bit of a side income. Like, but what else?
Yeah.
What else does Jens like to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, sport for me has been like a central part in my life. But I mean, you've known that since I was at school. I mean, if
I
I
was
had the
actually trying to think. Did you play basketball at the German school with us? Were
yeah,
you
yeah,
actually you were in the
yeah,
team, right?
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. We definitely played together.
yeah.
I can't help think of anyone else except Ralph Hasselbach with his fucking huge calves. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
remember anyone else in the team except Ralph.
Do you remember Paul Neumann?
Yeah, no, Paul Neumann, I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He was
yeah.
definitely
So
out
I
there.
mean, I would spend like 2-3 hours on the basketball court every day.
Mm.
And
And
it's
you
like
were
every
in the Schülerheim,
yeah,
the
exactly, in the
what's the
hostel.
English, the hostel? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that was great because we had access to the basketball courts, even though we weren't meant to play, because there wasn't any supervision. And it's like, man,
Mm.
I'm just throwing a ball around, just chill.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, but I mean, I've always enjoyed doing sports, like going to the gym,
Mm.
spend a lot of time with the kids, or
Mm.
trying, so on the PlayStation as well. And
Right.
then what else? What else? That's it. I
I
mean,
mean, I
like,
think
yeah,
that's pretty much me. I like it's people ask me, like, do you do anything else? Like, I don't really have time for anything else. I can't,
yeah.
like, be doing too much other things. Like
But
that takes.
I've also, like, I think the one thing that COVID taught me, or gave me at least, like a lot, I'm really glad that I went through COVID, or that it happened.
Mm.
And I mean, some people have negative or had negative experiences, which is fine. But for
Mm.
me, it was really important to just like reset and be like, it's actually great spending time with the family. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to go out to a bar 3 times a week. You don't have to go out and party. You don't have to go
Mm.
to this concert. You don't have to go
Mm.
here, there, or anywhere. It just
Mm.
gave me the perspective of being like, it's actually nicer being at home than going out, you know.
Mm.
And I mean, I've got 2 boys. Max is turning 17 in November. Charlie is 10.
Already you're 17. Okay. I
I
didn't know there
know.
was such
I
a big
know.
difference.
Yeah. So it's a 6 year gap, and
Okay.
yeah, I mean, he's going to be leaving home in 2 years' time, you know.
Mm. Mm. Well, you
So
hope.
yeah, yeah, he might not be able to afford
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But no, I mean, I love spending time with them. They're great fun. They've got a great sense of humor. I don't know where they
Yeah,
get it from, but
yeah,
no, I mean, it's great. We talk shit, and it's
yeah,
like, they're like, dude. They call me
yeah,
dude or bro
yeah,
dad, and I'm like, just okay,
yeah.
cool. So it's it's good fun, and I mean, we
Yeah.
laugh a lot at home. So I think that's
Mm.
for me, it's really the core. I think,
Mm.
I think
Of
my
course.
job now is to
Get yourself right and
well, no, I mean, I
mindset.
wouldn't say I'm
Yeah.
right,
No, no, no,
but
no. But and there's nothing wrong with you either. Let's put it like that. There's nothing to
thanks.
fix. There's nothing to fix. No, with any of us. But I mean, it's like at least you fix the fact that you stop thinking that you need something to fix
Mm,
about yourself and just kind of carry on with life and enjoy it.
exactly.
No.
But like, I mean, my job now is turning them into like fine young gentlemen,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
making
your
yeah,
priority. Yeah.
and making sure that they have the tools, for instance, to navigate the self-doubt, the intrusive thoughts, the how do I treat other people, how do I treat women,
Mm.
how do I treat the outside world around me, and also
Mm.
just like give them the confidence and say, listen, you guys are doing a
Mm.
good job, you're good kids, you're good people,
Mm.
um, and if people don't get along with you, then that's their loss, it's not yours. Don't put it down to you.
Mm.
um, so I think
Yeah.
that's my main goal
Good.
now is to raise decent human beings.
Mm. Yeah. I'm sure you've already done it. They
Well,
really, especially the older one. There's not much you can do with him now, bro.
no,
Except be there to
no,
support.
you know what? You know what the funny thing is? He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. He's
Yeah.
not into any of that stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, if I think about what we were doing when we were
Dude,
14.
we were going out in Pretoria. We were going to Oktoberfest, sneaking beers.
Yeah. And I spoke to another friend of mine, and he says his 16-year-old is the same. He's no interest in smoking, drinking,
Yeah. Well,
partying.
they've probably seen some of our mistakes, bro. So I know
Nothing.
they've learned. They've
I've been
learned. They've watched us. They're
I've
like,
been a
I don't,
I've been a bad enough influence that he's like, no, I don't want to turn out
yeah,
like that.
I don't want to turn out like that guy. That's doing a good job for them, bro. The people don't get that. I'm the fucking idiot, so that you realize that you don't have to be this way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't
I
make
made
these
the
mistakes.
mistakes. I made the mistakes, so you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. Lucky Jens, I think I'm sure we'll have another one at some point.
No, we
But
must. This was
you
fun.
know, it was lacquer.
Yeah,
But people are also saying the podcasts are too long. Not that I listen to other people, but
yeah,
I'm trying to stick to the like max an hour, and I've had fun. So we actually
yeah.
almost hit it. But
It's been entertaining. I've laughed,
yeah,
laughed a lot. It's been great.
yeah, it's
Send
been
me,
like a
send,
chatting.
send me the link to your ebook. You've got my email address,
Yeah, no, I'll send it to you. No worries, man. Cool.
and then I can become financially free in one click.
Of course, of course, and you don't have to even give me your email. I mean, you gave it to me willingly, like because of this
Yeah,
podcast. You
yeah,
can
but
literally, it'll click on, and you don't even have to spare your email address. But yeah, I'll send it to you. Cool,
awesome.
buddy.
Thanks, dude.
Nice to
Take
chat.
care.
Enjoy the rest of your retreat. I'm actually jealous now. Now I understand, like I said, why you fucking didn't want to come on immediately, but wanted to exercise first.
I'm gonna go to the pool now. and
Oh,
then
nice.
and
Okay.
have a cerveza.
Ah, nice.
Yeah,
That
and
paella looked good. Paella.
oh man, it was so
Paella.
good, and it was $9. It was cheap. I
Nice.
had a paella, two
Paella,
Pepsis,
yeah. Yeah.
and a beer, and it was 14 euro 50.
Nice. Nice. Lekker, bro.
That's why the Canary Islands are so great because it's really, really inexpensive to go eating and drinking here.
Well, go enjoy
I will.
and we'll chat soon. Much love, bro.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. Thanks, buddy.
Cool, man. Cheers, bud. Bye.
Ciao.